I was thinking about all the different jobs that I've had, and I realized that I've done 14 different jobs, and I started working when I was in fourth grade. I don't even know if that's legal. And I thought it would be fun to do my makeup and tell you about all of them. My first paying job was when I was in the fourth grade. One of my best friends and I decided to do a dance summer camp. And it was like we had crafts, we had snacks, we had all these really fun activities, and we taught them a dance. The next job I did was babysitting. Once I turned, I think either 11 or 12, I was like allowed to babysit. The next one was in middle school, I got into acting, and not just like acting in plays and stuff around town, which I did all of that growing up. I actually like got signed and had an agent for theatrical and commercials, and I also did some modeling during this time. I did a Bratz Dolls commercial, I did a Nickelodeon commercial, I did some sort of like bug commercial. I did these national commercials that back in the day when we actually watched TV with commercials, my friends in school would see. Also during my acting phase, I did a game show and I did a music video and random things. I didn't do acting for a long time. I did it for about a year. And during that time, I actually decided to be homeschooled and was homeschooled for a year while I was doing acting because it was so difficult being pulled out of school all the time. I lived in Orange County, so I was driving from Orange County to LA whenever the agent would call. So we'd get calls in the middle of school, my mom would pull me out of school, and then we'd drive to LA from Orange County. And if anyone knows the drive from Orange County to LA, it depends on traffic, but it can take forever. It was a lot of driving, a lot of time with me and my mom in the car, but I absolutely loved it. During this time, I auditioned for like a Disney show. I got to go on the Paramount lot. I've definitely considered doing acting again and got headshots and all this stuff. I just really don't like the self-tape world, and I need to get over that. Moving out of middle school into high school, I was obsessed with art, and I did a fine arts program. It was like a scholarship program that was through Disney, and I loved it. It was so cool. I got to go to a college campus, and it was every Saturday, and it was really intense, and it was just such a good experience. But during that time, I started getting better with my art, in my mind, and I started selling custom art for people and making things for people, and that's what then led me into Etsy. I was obsessed with quotes and Pinterest, and this was like Tumblr era and all this stuff. So over Christmas break, I watched Grey's Anatomy and I hand lettered quotes. I forgot to mention, I actually hand wrote on pieces of paper like hundreds of quotes, cut them up and put them in a jar. Then I pulled them out of a jar, and then whatever I pulled out was what I was going to hand letter and then sell on Etsy. Why, I don't know. That was just my process at the time. So I started selling on Etsy, and then people started actually requesting custom art. And then I really wanted to go on a trip to Europe with my sister and her husband, which, what? They invited me to go to Europe with them. I was probably a junior in high school. This really motivated me. I wanted to find ways to make money. So this is when I started hand painting globes. I'm talking like world globes. So this turned into a whole business that I ran from my junior year in high school into college, selling hand painted globes on Etsy. And I shipped them all over the country. I would actually buy the globes from Target, paint over them. A lot of times they were for people's weddings. It was so much fun. It was like my why. Everyone called me the Globe Girl in high school, and the people at FedEx and like Staples knew my name and they would call me the Globe Girl, and it was just the cutest, most fun time. And so I made enough money to be able to go on the trip to Europe, but I also during this time felt really inspired to start donating to a charity. I already was donating 10% of everything I was making to the church that I belonged to at the time. I then had the idea to donate 10% to this organization. It was an orphanage in Cambodia, and I just felt so inspired. I had crazy sales on Etsy once I started donating and giving to this charity. So not only did I get to go to Europe with the money I was making, I also found a crazy cheap flight to go to Cambodia, and I got to go to the orphanage and meet all of the kids, and it was just the best experience. And it really showed me that if you pray about the businesses and the things that you're doing, and if you have a purpose and a mission and a why, things will click and things will come together. Most people my age obviously were partying and doing all this stuff, but I had orders to fulfill. So I was coming home from school and listening to audiobooks and hand painting globes and making custom orders. And I started doing stickers, and I started reselling stuff from Forever 21. I would get really cheap stuff from there and then resell it. I also forgot to mention, with the globes, I used to do markets. So I did a market in Dana Point and I would sell my globes there, and I would work there actually with her as well. And then that's when I started kind of doing different like nannying and babysitting and doing that while I was in high school. I nannied for a few different families. And then I also started getting into videography as just like a hobby. It was something I loved to do. I just made videos all the time for myself and would post them on Vine. I would post them on Instagram, and I ended up actually doing someone's wedding video, and I did photography for somebody at the time as well. And that's where graphic design started to kind of come in. I was doing logos for people's Christmas cards and graduation cards, and just like random graphics and things. I learned how to use Photoshop and like all the programs for graphic design in a class at my school, and then I also took an outside class. That's when I learned how to do the stickers. Okay, I just referenced my list again. I also forgot. So in high school, one of my friend's moms asked me to paint all this custom art that she then got printed onto shirts and sweatshirts, and they sold it in Newport Beach and Laguna. So that was another side quest. Now let's get into college. When I was in college, I was still doing the Etsy shop, having success with that, but it was definitely slowing down a bit because I wasn't putting up as much listings because I just wanted to be a college student and camp and run around and do all these fun things with my friends. But then I had some sort of random retail job. I can't even remember what it was, but it was like all my friends were getting jobs in retail, so I decided to try that. Hated it. It was not for me. During that time, I also did a little bit of so I was studying graphic design at my college, but then I also decided that I wanted to get a degree in interior design. So while I was going to 2 schools, I was taking like 21 credits a semester. This goes into my ADHD where you just keep piling things on. So then I got this job at an interior design store. It was a retail store, but then they also made custom furniture and they did custom interior design for people, and I loved it. It was so fun. That time in retail, I actually liked it because I was learning hands-on while I was going to school. And then I got snatched from that job because my friend's mom came in, saw me working at the interior design store, and was like, what is this girl doing here? I want to hire her. So she hired me to be her design assistant, and that was the best. I literally would go to their studio and work with them. I was their only employee. I got to go to all these installations, learn about vendors, and understand and build context around interior design. And that's when I first started dabbling with social media and posting for people, and doing kind of random social media things for them. And then the pandemic hit, which was, hold on, I need to focus for a second. It just deleted that last chunk. So basically what I was saying is I had an interior design job, loved it. The pandemic hit. After that, I started working at a different interior design firm. Here I learned so much. I got to actually be designing. I got to go to presentations with clients. I got to go to installations, and it was so fun. So I actually started interviewing for a junior designer position because I wanted to keep growing. What happened was they changed something in my major for graphic design. So most of my classes at the time were remote, so I was chilling. But then they were saying, hey, actually, you have to do this in order to graduate. So what I did was freak out and then accepted it as it was, and it ended up being the best thing. So I did this startup accelerator program, a startup with a group of people in your college, and all of you come from different backgrounds. So I was a designer, and then we had software engineers and we had product managers, and I was in a group of 6, and we created this business. We made this app, and then we pivoted because we were asked to make a different app, and then we sold that. And then that experience is what got me into tech and got me my first job out of college, which was as a product designer. A product designer means that you do UX, which is user experience, UI, which is user interface, and then you also contribute to strategy. So that's what that umbrella term means. And I just fell in love with working in tech. I just thought it was such a great use of design, strategy. It really just pushed me, and I loved the collaboration aspect of it. And I've still been working in tech ever since then as a product designer. So just like your typical 9 to 5. Of course, I have some side quests in there. So I started Etsy again, did stickers and things like that on there. I've done brand deals. I started a jewelry business and started selling that on Shopify, like built out a whole Shopify and everything. I also was in a music video recently, got paid for that. So that's where we're at. And I just feel like life has been so much fun having all these random jobs. I've met so many cool people. I've learned from so many people. I think life is all about learning and experience, and there's nothing better than putting yourself in all these different situations, meeting new people, learning from people, being mentored. It's just been amazing. So, highly recommend, and I'm definitely not done here. I have so many things I want to do. There are certain things that I've done in the past that I want to dabble in again. So, we'll see. If you made it through the whole video, thanks for being here, and I'm so curious to hear about other people's jobs because it's just fun.